In just a few weeks, China and Russia are set to launch one of their most provocative naval drills yet, right off the coast of key U.S. allies in the Pacific. The operation, known as Joint Sea 2025, is scheduled for August near Vladivostok, and it's already raising alarms in Washington. This is more than just a military exercise. It's a geopolitical signal, and the timing couldn't be more strategic. Because soon after, Russian President Vladimir Putin is expected to land in Beijing for high-stakes talks with Xi Jinping. Is this the start of a new phase in the China-Russia alliance? One aimed directly at the U.S. and its partners? One thing is clear: America must stay alert. And you need to understand why. Joint Sea 2025 is the latest installment in a long-running series of joint naval exercises between China and Russia, designed to showcase growing military cooperation and challenge U.S. influence in the Indo-Pacific. According to China's Ministry of Defense, the drill will take place in August, in both the waters and airspace near Vladivostok, Russia. The exact size of the operation hasn't been publicly revealed, but analysts expect multiple warships, submarines, naval aviation units, and even surveillance aircraft from both sides. Following the exercise, Chinese and Russian forces are expected to conduct a joint maritime patrol, marking the 6th time they've done so together. The official name of the operation, Joint Sea, reflects a long-term strategic agreement. This is not a one-off event. It's part of an annual framework for deepening naval interoperability between the two countries. China claims the drill is not aimed at any third party. But the timing and location tell a different story. Vladivostok lies close to Japan, South Korea, and U.S. bases in the Pacific. The message? Unmistakable. So why now? Why are China and Russia choosing August, this specific moment, to stage such a bold naval display? The answer may lie in the calendar. Russian President Vladimir Putin is expected to visit Beijing by the end of August for the annual summit of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. While in China, he is also scheduled to attend a massive military parade commemorating the 80th anniversary of the defeat of fascism in World War II. A highly symbolic event that will place both Putin and Xi Jinping side by side, in front of the world. Their message? Unity, strength, defiance. The timing of Joint Sea 2025 is no coincidence. It's a carefully choreographed show of force designed to precede and amplify the political drama of Putin's visit. By conducting the drill just weeks before the summit, Beijing and Moscow are sending a calculated signal. Their military and political ties are not only solid, they're accelerating. And while both sides insist the exercise is not aimed at any third party, the strategic messaging couldn't be clearer. It's a warning to Washington, Tokyo, Seoul, and every other actor in the Pacific who might challenge this growing axis of autocracy. The naval drill planned for August is not an isolated event. Over the past decade, China and Russia have significantly expanded their military cooperation, on land, in the air, and at sea. The Joint Sea Series began in 2012. Since then, the two nations have held more than a dozen joint military exercises, each growing in scale and complexity. In 2021, Chinese and Russian naval forces patrolled the Sea of Japan, circling around Japan's main islands and drawing protests from Tokyo. In 2022, Chinese bombers and Russian aircraft conducted joint air patrols near South Korea and Japan during President Biden's visit to the region. In 2023, they held large-scale joint naval exercises in the South China Sea, raising eyebrows in the Philippines and among U.S. Navy commanders. These are not symbolic drills. They are tactical rehearsals. Each operation sharpens interoperability. Each patrol improves communication. Each exercise sends a clear message. China and Russia are not just allies of convenience. They are building the foundation for coordinated military operations. Their target may not be declared, but the implications for U.S. forces and allies in the region are impossible to ignore. As China and Russia intensify their military moves at sea, the United States is not standing still. Under President Donald Trump's renewed leadership, Washington has swiftly responded with clear strength and strategic focus in the Indo-Pacific. Pentagon officials confirm that U.S. Navy patrol routes in the Western Pacific have been adjusted, and strategic bombers have been redeployed to key forward bases in Guam and Japan. This is not just about firepower. It's about upholding alliances, deterring aggression, and defending the regional order that has preserved peace for decades. In response to the growing provocations, the Trump administration has expanded joint military drills with Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines, and deepened defense cooperation with rising partners like Vietnam and India. President Trump recently hosted a high-level trilateral summit with the leaders of Japan and South Korea, where all parties pledged unified action to counter coercion and preserve freedom in the Pacific. What's remarkable in 2025 is how America's allies are stepping up as active players, not just passive partners. Japan has increased its defense budget to record levels, enhancing counterstrike and missile defense capabilities. South Korea has stepped up anti-submarine and maritime surveillance operations. Meanwhile, Australia, under the AUKUS alliance, is preparing to deploy nuclear-powered submarines by the early 2030s. This unified allied front presents a significant barrier to any ambitions China and Russia may hold to redraw the balance of power in the Pacific. But the next chapter of this confrontation is already unfolding on the diplomatic front. While military drills are often labeled as routine, the choice of timing, location, and allies speaks volumes. This upcoming China-Russia naval drill near American allies is a calculated message, not just to the United States, but to the global community. To Washington, it's a signal that Beijing and Moscow can project power and influence beyond their immediate neighborhoods, right on America's strategic doorstep. To Asia-Pacific nations, it reinforces the idea that the U.S. might not always be able to guarantee security, and that China is steadily expanding its sphere of influence. To Europe and NATO, as attention remains focused on Ukraine and Eastern Europe, the drill reminds Western allies that China and Russia are coordinating on a global scale, and not just in one region. To domestic audiences in both China and Russia, it's a nationalist flex, showing strength and sovereignty at a time of economic turbulence and growing dissent at home. The fact that Putin may be making a state visit to Beijing shortly after, possibly to solidify new arms agreements or deepen diplomatic cooperation, only intensifies the perception that this drill is a preview of more permanent military alignment between the two powers. These actions are far from random. They're a rehearsal, not just for naval maneuvers, but for a new post-American world order both Beijing and Moscow are eager to establish. Beyond military might and naval formations, the joint naval drill between China and Russia serves a deeper, more calculated purpose: strategic signaling. This operation isn't just about testing hardware or showing off military prowess. It's about sending a powerful geopolitical message. A message not just aimed at the United States, but at the entire international community. By conducting the drill near U.S. allies like Japan and South Korea, Beijing and Moscow are intentionally turning up the heat. They're demonstrating that any Western intervention in Asia or Eastern Europe will be met with a coordinated response. This is what military experts call strategic messaging, an act designed to influence political behavior without direct confrontation. China wants the world to accept its dominance in the South and East China Seas. Russia wants NATO to think twice before expanding further east. And both nations want the global South to view them as credible counterbalances to the West. For Washington and its allies, the signal is clear. The China-Russia partnership isn't just symbolic, it's operational. The United States must now interpret this message and respond not with panic, but with a coherent, multilateral strategy rooted in deterrence, diplomacy, and preparedness. Because this drill isn't just about warships, it's about rewriting the global order. As the China-Russia naval drills unfold near U.S. allies, the world is left to wonder, what's next? The U.S. is likely to bolster its military presence in the region, especially around Japan, Taiwan, and the Philippines. We could see more U.S. carrier groups operating in the Pacific, increased surveillance flights, and a stepped-up military posture. Washington may also fast-track arms sales and defense agreements with regional allies. China and Russia, emboldened by their perceived unity, might escalate their joint military ventures, air patrols, cyber warfare cooperation, or even future missile tests. Beijing could use the cover of these drills to test U.S. red lines around Taiwan or simulate blockades. The joint naval drill between China and Russia, especially so close to U.S. allies and territory, is not just a military maneuver, it's a statement, a calculated show of power. But what exactly are they trying to say? To Washington, it's a test of resolve, deterrence, and strategy in an increasingly multipolar world. To its allies, Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines, it's a chilling reminder that their geography makes them the front line of great power competition. And to the global audience, it signals that the Cold War-style bloc politics may be returning, but with 21st-century weapons and ambitions.